Hi, welcome to Mature Matters, a show brought to you in cooperation with the Farmington Area Commission on Aging and the Farmington Senior Division. My name is Lou Cantor, and my guest today is Dan Turse. Dan is an expert in Tai Chi. How's that for a setup?
Oh, by golly, I hope I can fulfill that expectation.
Well, there's a lot of our audience out there, Dan, that if they're anything like me, they might be sitting there watching television thinking, I'd like to get up and do something invigorating, but I'm really comfortable watching television,
Sure.
but I should get up. and I have a feeling, and I don't know a lot about Tai Chi, but I have a feeling Tai Chi might just be an answer for a lot of these people. Am I in the right area there?
I would like to think so, Lou. It's basically, well, it started out as a martial art, and that, of course, will put a lot of people off, whether they are middle-aged, elderly, or rather young, because people who practice the martial arts sometimes get hurt, truth be told. But over the years, Tai Chi has evolved, or at least certain styles of Tai Chi have evolved, into a very gentle exercise program to sustain health and well-being. So I'd say about 350 years ago is where the shift began to occur. The Chinese originally believed that the way to stay healthy was to do the same kinds of exercises that martial artists did. But
Either stay healthy or stay alive, right?
Or stay alive,
Right.
for sure. But people who practiced the martial arts, as I said, got injured, and the more mature, the more insightful people like us looked at this rough, hard style of martial art, and they said, "What's the second best thing I can do?"
That's good.
So eventually, a fellow by the name of Yang, Y-A-N-G, but it's pronounced something that sounds like young to my Western ears, devised this newer form of Tai Chi, which is the gentle, almost looks like ballet in slow motion.
Right, right. And as to continue your example of, say for instance, what, jiu-jitsu? Is that the way you pronounce that?
Yes.
That, you can be the protagonist and you can be the dummy in that sort of a situation. Each person has to change places, I guess, occasionally and get flipped onto the... I don't have to worry about that in Tai Chi.
No, we don't, at least not in my classes. Now there are, well, let's draw the line between the hard style of the martial art and the soft style. The hard style, think of something like jiu-jitsu, think of something like karate, think of something like judo, where there's a lot of flipping around or kicking or striking or what have you. Then there's the soft style, which would be the young style of Tai Chi, for example. That's slow motion. We don't do any striking at other individuals. We don't close with individuals. We don't have contact with individuals. We're just looking for health. We're looking to move our body parts. We're looking to keep our muscles alive. And we're looking for whatever the good health benefits may be consequent to doing these exercises. And there are some stories about people who have had good health experiences with Tai Chi. Now, most of those stories are anecdotal as opposed to scientific. The difference being they're hearsay. You can't lock somebody in a laboratory and put them under a bell jar for 6 months and isolate the variables. But on the other hand, it's not hard and fast like let's say the physician might want to see. Though there is some evidence accumulating in the Western journals of medicine that suggests that people who do Tai Chi are at an advantage over people who don't. Primarily balance. It seems to be that people who do Tai Chi have a better balance over a longer period of time. And there are other benefits too. And I'm perhaps answering more than you.
That's all right. No, the balance thing is important because a lot of what we do as we age, even as we age in the younger age group,
Exactly.
We try to stress staying vertical, Fall prevention is a major goal of us as a group as we age. lots of injuries can be prevented that way.
For
Well,
sure.
if I can improve my balance, and this is a good way to do it, then I want to know about it.
For certain, for certain. And just to follow up about some of the health benefits of Tai Chi, the hard scientific evidence. There was just recently completed a study about, of all things, shingles, that herpes zoster disease that a lot of older people get. And lo and behold, the doctors found that while Tai Chi did not necessarily prevent shingles, what it did seem to do was if you divided your people in your sample, let's say, into two groups, group one did Tai Chi and took the anti-shingles vaccine, and group two did not do Tai Chi and took the anti-shingles vaccine, the group that did Tai Chi seemed to benefit more from the vaccine than the group that did not. Now, was that a fluke for, just a study that will later be reversed? I can't comment because I don't know.
Right.
But I mean, it's a very interesting spin-off.
That is very interesting.
Of the advantages of Tai Chi.
Yeah. How did you get involved in Tai Chi?
Oh, this is a story in itself. I used to have a lot of problems with a sore back. Go back about 20 years, and I was looking through a newspaper, and I came across this article, which in retrospect was not very well written. It just said, there's this doctor who says, no name of the doctor, that Tai Chi is good for patients with sore backs. So I had no idea of how to find this, but my wife is a trained medical librarian and was working at a library, and I said, hey, sweetheart, when you go to work tomorrow, see what you can find out about this thing called Tai Chi. Well, this was before libraries had computers, and so she had to go through the various indices by hand, the paper indices. Mm-hmm. And she came home at the end of the day and she said, I can't find anything. I said, well, okay, don't worry about it. You can't do it, can't be done.
Right.
So several months passed by, and she came home one day and she said, there's a fellow coming to the library and he's going to teach a class in Tai Chi. Are you still interested?
There you go.
And I said, okay, I mean, I still don't know what it is, but sure, I'm curious, let me go find out about this thing. So I go to the library and there's a gentleman there who is a psychologist. And as part of his therapeutic regimen for his patients, he insists that they do more than just come in and lie down on his couch or sit down in his easy chair. They have to study Tai Chi. Now, I don't know whether it's with him or it's with someone else, but they must study Tai Chi. So anyway, he gives us some simple moves, and I'm kind of curious, I'm kind of fascinated.
Right.
Feels nice, and it's not killing me. So I do it, and then he goes back to his patients, and I never see him again. Several more months pass, my wife comes home again, she says, there's another guy coming to the library, and he's going to teach a class in Tai Chi. Are you still interested? Oh, sure. So I go, and this fellow is a physical therapist, and he does a session in Tai Chi, and then afterwards, I guess he goes back to his therapy patients, and I don't see him again. But by this time, I'm hooked. I just want to know more and more about this thing. So let me condense things a bit. My wife at the time is working with a Chinese woman who says to her, geez, I guess your husband's interested in Tai Chi, isn't he? Sort of
all of a sudden you become the local expert.
You got it. So she says, there's a Chinese school not very far from where you are, and there's an old man there teaching classes in Tai Chi. Why don't you have your husband go and look up this old man and see if he can join as a student? So I go off and I finally find this older man. At the time, he's about 79 years old. He has just retired at the age of 89. He's now 91. He's sort of a walking testimonial, perhaps, of what Tai Chi may or may not do. So anyway, I persuade him that I want to study, and he takes me on as a student. And over the years, he teaches me Tai Chi. Now, the interesting thing about him is he is a Chinese physician, and it is not unusual in the Chinese culture for a physician to be teaching Tai Chi, or at least somebody with a medical background. Now, while I'm not a doctor, at least I've got my background in first aid and CPR, and my background down at the medical school at Wayne State. So I'd like to feel at least I'm on the periphery of that kind of medical tradition. But anyway, he used to do acupuncture, acupressure, as well as Tai Chi. I mean, he learned these as just a natural part of his medical training. And just as an interesting aside, his medical training took 10 years compared to our 4 years of medical school, or maybe 8 if you count the residency. So he had to go for 10 years studying acupressure, acupuncture, herbal things. And if we would get hurt, not from doing Tai Chi,
right.
But if you had a problem.
You can't get hurt doing Tai Chi.
We hope. I've never heard of anybody being hurt doing the slow form of Tai
Right.
Chi. Now,
Right.
some of the other styles, oh, absolutely, you can.
Yeah.
But we would go in there, and he would, well, I went in with a sore back one day, and somebody says, oh, look at him, his back is bothering him, because I was kind of shuffling in, trying to be inconspicuous, but not doing a good job. So the teacher has me lie down on a windowsill, and he takes one thumb and he jabs it into my hip, and he takes the other thumb and he jabs it into my kidney. I'm speaking generically.
Right.
I can't tell you the exact
Right.
point, but instantly the back pain goes away, and I get up and I walk around as just a perfectly normal person. So it's just amazing what they can do.
So you had nothing but good experiences from day one with Tai Chi.
Absolutely.
And you were a convert.
I was the convert. Now, I'm very cautious as an instructor. I don't want to tell anybody, go home and throw away your pills.
Right.
If your MD or DO or whoever puts you on X, stay on X, but try Tai Chi. It may help you feel a little bit better.
It sounds like there's no real downside to it that we can determine anyway. There might be, but we don't know about it.
I think that's well put. I mean, I've had people come in to my classes. Well, my oldest student is 96 years old. He's too much of a handful for a chauffeur. He can't drive himself. And if he can get to my class in downtown Detroit, why then he shows up and does his exercises. I've got diabetics in my class. I've got somebody with a closed head injury. I've got somebody with podiatric problems. I've got somebody with cancer. Again, I don't want to say this is what you've been looking for. This is the cure, because I sell no bills of health.
Right. So, but it sounds like, and you used the term when we were talking about getting ready for the show. You used the term play Tai Chi.
Yes.
It sounds like many types of people with many types of physical conditions can play Tai Chi.
Yes, exactly. It's part of the Chinese idiom. In fact, we talk about doing things. Occasionally we talk about when we play tennis or we bowl, but to say play Tai Chi, it just sounds like, for some reason it doesn't go on the American ear very well. But somebody who's native born to China and has come over here for whatever reason, if he or she talks about Tai Chi, it's not at all unusual to have a direct translation of what I think is the Chinese idiom, namely play. And so my old instructor used to say, he would show us several moves and say, okay, go play.
Yeah.
And then we would try, we would struggle for 10 or 20 minutes, and he would get up and, no.
Well, are there, in any group that I've been involved with, or maybe our viewers have been involved with, the first time out, you feel like a sore thumb, you're sticking out like a sore thumb, you're the newbie. Are there levels that you can go into? Do you need to be, when you sign up for Tai Chi, do you need to look for a beginner's class or something like that?
No.
Or can you jump in the water anywhere?
I think you can jump in anywhere at just about any time, or at least I encourage that. Now, I suppose if I got a group of 35 or 40 students, and maybe 10 of them were newbies and the others were not. They had been with me for a while. It might be good for me to break them into 2 separate groups. But you can come in. I've got people who have been with me for just a term or 2, and they're coming along. Tai Chi is something that